Lore of the Old World, Chapter 14. The Beasts of the Forest. Within the haunted woods and blighted forests that cover the Old World dwell the Beastmen, the true children of chaos. Within the warped hearts of these grotesque hybrids of beast and man simmers intense hatred, a primal rage that can only be sated by grievous acts of defilement and savagery. For the world once belonged to the Beastmen, and they hunger to take it back. When the polar gates collapsed and chaos came roaring into the world, the great forests became the domains of the Beastmen. For thousands of years they ruled their realms unchallenged, preying upon the cowering young races as wolves prey upon sheep. But the reign of the beasts was not to last. The scattered tribes of man grew steadily in number, and the courage of their people increased. The prey began to fight back when the Beastmen came, timidly at first, but with ever-increasing ferocity, until eventually it began to win victories, forcing the Beastmen to flee. With each defeat, the Beastmen retreated further into the dark forests, pursued by the growing armies of men. In their wake, the victorious enemies felled the trees and cleared the ground, taming it with plough and harrow. In time, the land was ruled by man, who looked out upon the shrinking forests from behind tall walls and planned ever more campaigns against the beasts of the forest. Yet despite the gains made by man, the wild woods remain largely untamed. The proud cities of man are but flickering pinpoints of light, islands of barely maintained sanity in a vast black sea of trees. Outside each town and village, the dark forest echoes with the howling, savage beasts. Creatures of animalistic lusts and vitriolic temperament, beastmen are a twisted reflection of the cruelty of nature. They are the apotheosis of violence and destruction, as unreasoning and deadly as the flood that washes away the village, the plague that ravages the lands, or the blight that kills the harvest. All beastmen are surly and cruel, for they know they are destined to live a short, brutal life of squalor and pain. Quick to anger, their every gesture or glance brimming with hostility, beastmen become belligerent and bellicose in the extreme at the slightest provocation. The atavistic fury that each beastman harbours within its soul is always but a mere moment away from the service. But above all, it is the trappings of civilization that fan the embers of hatred burning within each beastman's breast. The sight of a proud flag or coat of arms, a pristine uniform or a magnificent statue elicits a powerful reaction, for the things of order are anathema to the children of chaos. Woe betide those who take pride in such symbols of order, for their end will invariably be painful and humiliating. For though beastmen find it easier to destroy than to create, they are most inventive in the punishments they inflict upon their captives, and enact terrible atrocities upon those they can catch. When the ruinous powers stir within the aether, the world trembles. In the turmoil of the gods' awakening wrath, the magical realm is riven with storms, and the winds of magic blow strong, roiling out from the collapsed gateway of the Old Ones to rage with tempestuous fury across the face of the world. As these terrible storms of magic surge, and mortal creatures cower, the fabric of reality is stretched so thin that it begins to tear, and the realm of chaos swells to swallow the world, its shadow looming large across the civilized lands of the south. At such times the followers of chaos hear the call of their gods and gather for war. In the north, as their homelands are lost beneath encroaching darkness, the marauder tribes and their black armoured champions are driven southwards, the winds of magic blowing hard at their backs. In the Old World, cultists gather in secret places, readying their weapons and finalizing their intricately laid plans. In the dark forests, howling beastmen form mighty war herds, ready to descend upon towns and cities in orgies of slaughter and destruction. Fortunately for the denizens of the world, the power of chaos has always waxed and waned, for the world is protected by powerful enchantments and mighty works of arcane wonder crafted long ago by sorcerers of supreme ability. Thus the storms of magic inevitably lose their bluster, the floods of raw magic subside, and the realm of chaos shrinks, its terrible shadow receding from the world, taking with it the armies of the damned that were driven before it. Although the great nations of the world are beset by hundreds of minor invasions and raids each year, incursions of such magnitude are rare, and, so far, the great hordes of chaos that arise at such times have always been halted and turned back by the armies of men, elves, and dwarfs. But with each incursion, the realm of chaos grows stronger, claiming a greater measure of the world, and the grim shadow it casts over the north grows larger. With each incursion, the civilized lands of the south concede ever more territory to the barbarian hordes and savage beasts. Worse still, the frequency of these incursions is increasing. With every passing decade, the threat posed by chaos becomes greater. Though the change is too subtle for any mere mortal to perceive during their meagre span of life, as the centuries march past, the doom of the world unfolds inexorably, and each generation must face peril undreamt of by the one that came before. In civilized lands, the wise and the mad alike have recognized the dire signs and portents that presage the return of chaos. They know that the world once more teeters on the brink of ruin, for in the north a great evil rises. That evil has a name, carried on the wind and upon the lips of the lost and the damned. Asavar Kal, the beast incarnate.